Oh, we need our lights. That's why it's dark. Go ahead.
All right, guys.
Why
So,
am I looking?
hello, everybody. Whoa, there we are.
Oh,
There we are.
Thank you.
All righty. So, welcome to our Afterglow for the Love Healing Room. So, we just had an amazing conversation. And our topic this week was how to talk to your man so he'll listen. And so we have our resident brother here, Brother Keith, who sat in with us and gave us some really great insight. So we're just going to do a quick recap and kind of, go over the pointers and some of the conversation that we talked about. So I'm going to start it off with an article that I got from prevention.com that talked about some strategies that you can use to get your man to listen. And so I thought I had both of my cards out here. I guess I did. What happened to my other card? Anyway, so yes, thank you. Did I drop it?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you. So anyway, it starts off talking about some things that you can do to get them to open up. And in the conversation is in the article, it started out by saying sometimes talking, and this was a quote from a woman in the article that said, sometimes talking to the man of my life is like banging my head against a brick wall. He just doesn't listen, or he's irritated and doesn't respond. And so prevention.com says that it's not that men don't listen or don't care. Rather, research shows that they process what they hear differently than women do. And so, of course, they offer some suggestions. They said, avoid misunderstanding by letting him know when you're about to say something that needs his close attention. And don't try to compete with distractions. Trying to initiate a discussion while he's watching TV or the game or surfing the net means that you don't get his full attention. And if distractions at home make it hard, then leave home, go for a walk, go out to eat, go have a drink, and then open up with some positive talk. Don't start off with, you never listen to me. You don't listen. Whenever I try to share with you, you have a history of not listening. But instead, say, I'm feeling some kind of way. I have something that I need to talk to you about. And so I'm hoping that we can talk about this together and come to a great resolution. And just let them know that you would like to talk about it and get their opinion because, men are natural problem solvers. We're the emotional ones. So if you just need to vent, you need to let them know up front that I need to just talk to you. I'm not need you to fix it. I just need to listen. And I think that was one of the tips that Keith also reiterated on the show. So, don't just jump out there with that because that wall will go up. So that was just a quick recap of the start of the conversation, but we also got into some juicy talk. So Keith gave us some great pointers, and I wrote some of them down. One of the things that he shared was that men need to feel adoration. They need to feel valued, and they need to be respected. If you're flipping off the meaning and all of that, then they're not going to respond. Is that right, Keith?
That's correct. The communication starts way before the conversation. It starts in the morning, how you greet them, how you talk to them, how you treat them all week. If you know you got something important you need to talk about, treat your man good for a week. Size the shoulders. Let him know how much you value what he brings to the relationship and to your home, and then pick that perfect time, like Darla was saying, or a better time, and you'll probably have a higher likelihood of having him open up and listen to you.
So don't grab the remote and turn the game off.
Don't do that part.
Oh no, we punching walls. Now I got to drywall the whole basement. Made me mad. My knuckles all gray and hurting. Don't
do that.
Don't grab it.
Okay, so don't force the conversation.
Don't force the conversation.
Don't hit the breaker box either.
Don't hit the breaker box.
Goodness, Charlotte, really? You got some good ones.
Yeah, so we want to make sure that we show, like you said, that adoration, that you respect their opinion, and that you're open to hear what they have to say. And JoJo, you gave the point that how most people listen to respond and not to understand. You just want to
Right.
Yes.
Give your 2 cents, make your point, and that's not always conducive to having a really good conversation. Yes, it's not about who gets to say who's right or who has the last word.
Mhm. And also the power of shut the fuck.
Well, sometimes it's things that, because you can't say it doesn't mean you have to say it or you should say it. And sometimes the best way of getting through is shutting the up. Just be quiet. Give them space. Give them time. A lot of times, like me personally, I got to think through stuff. So if my wife started giving me too much, I'm like, oh, I need to process, I need to think, and you just making it worse by just bringing up more stuff. Well, she doesn't. But she might be looking at the video. But no, sometimes be quiet. There's power in that. Giving the man space, and not saying everything that you want to say because you got the right to say it. Sometimes you want to pull back.
Mm-hmm.
Or interjecting. Sometimes when you're in a heated conversation, people are emotionally wanting to say things to hurt one another versus that most certainly is your cue that you want to be quiet and you want to do some self-reflection, because words do cut. And once you say them, it is very, very hard to take them back.
If people are saying things that intentionally hurt one another, if you are picking fights, then that means a brick wall in that relationship is already up. So it's going to take a lot of hard work to get that down, because that's a toxic relationship situation.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys got that in your relationship, and it's a difficult thing to deal with sometimes.
Yeah, because one of our Facebook viewers asked that question: when someone has a wall up, how do you work to get that down without being too pushy? And so you gave some great tips on that.
Well, one of the guests said that wall didn't go up overnight.
Right.
It took time to put that wall up brick by brick, and you got to take it down brick by brick and get that toxicity out of the relationship. Because if it's a wall, it happened over time, and you got to fix it over time.
Yeah, and JoJo shared that usually there's a reason for the wall, and to also we shared not to, you've got to know when to respectfully, walk away, because sometimes people want to keep their walls up. They're comfortable holding on to that. So they choose not to. So we can love from afar and, just keep it moving. And then you also said, Keith, that respect is just the minimum. And we're quoting a line from Lauryn Hill's song. But it is respect. You can respectfully disagree or, whatever it is, just do it with respect.
Yeah. And if a man doesn't feel respected, he's probably going to clam up, and that's probably one of the best things he can do, because it could get worse than that. But usually respect is the bare minimum to get a guy to open up. He needs to feel that his woman, his mom, his sister, whatever, respects his opinion. Because when you don't respect somebody's opinion, they're just going to, why should I talk? We don't respect what I got to say. You can disagree, but respect.
Absolutely. And then Terry, you shared some tips on how you have, your sons, and how you, have interacted with them regarding listening, from the point of a mother.
And because I had to learn that over a period of time, when they were teenagers, it was different. When they got in their 20s and their 30s, I talked to them differently. I shared things with them differently, and they were able to open to me more so as they matured and got older with one another. And I didn't want to enable them to be able to communicate, because whether it's a man or a woman, your sister, your boss, it encompasses your whole world. and whoever you may come in contact with. And I love the thing about the respect, because when women lose their respect for their loved one, they go on a whole another tangent, and sometimes you can't come back. And we can say we're sorry, I really didn't mean it, I was just upset, or I was hurt. It was just that moment it went there. But there are some things you can say to a man that you might
come
not,
back from.
you may not be able to come back from that particular thing. And I was also saying a lot of things you may not be able to take down in a day.
Mhm.
You know, you may be able to you have to give that person some space so that they're able to come back and react the way that you want to. But my thing has always been hugs. I love hugs. Hugs can dismantle a lot of stuff. And just touching a man or your son or on their back, or just rubbing them, and it can calm them down sometimes doing that thing too. So I want us all to just, I know it's an old cliche, but can't we just get along?
Right.
with
Can't we just love
one
one
another? I have to have peace. I have to have peace in my home, and that would be something that I would pray that all of us want, no matter where we go, because we want it at our jobs.
Right.
I want it in my car. When I'm driving, I just want, peace is the most important thing, to me. So honor our men, respect them,
Yes.
cherish them, because they need that. They see a whole different world than what we see, sometimes, and we need them.
Yes, we need you guys.
Yeah.
Because Keith gave another good point too of the power, sharing the scriptures, that speak about, how men were warned against women
Oh, yeah.
because of the power.
Yeah, women have great power in influencing men. And the Bible has no warning for men against women, but it has multiple warnings there's no warnings for
Women.
men against women, but
Yeah.
it has a lot of warnings for,
Men.
I'm saying it totally backwards.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
no warning for women
Women against men,
against men.
but it warns men multiple times for women, because you have great power to influence men. Now, just to make it even, guys got the harder choices. We're called to love our women and give our lives for our women. So guys got a lot of responsibility, but women, there's no warning against a woman for a man. But I mean, I'm tired.
We know.
No, we know. But the point also was that as women, we have to recognize and own that there comes a lot of responsibility with that power, and we should use our powers for good. And this is why we're having this conversation, because there's been a lot of things that have happened generationally that has kind of, put a negative, a heavy negative connotation to that power. That power is not being used to uplift and to enhance the relationships between men and women, because we need to think differently. There's power in parenting when you think differently. There's power in a successful society because we think differently. So we want to do a better job of learning those differences in order to make it work.
And one of my mentors told me years ago that for every one negative thing that somebody is told, you need 100 positive things to correct it. So if you said a lot of negative things to your man, use all that vocabulary and all that energy to start correcting it, because negative words carry a lot of weight to them. You got to say a lot of positive things to kind of cancel that out and balance it out. And that's part of the power. And that's why women talk a lot. Talk a lot, but you talk the right way to help your man if he's been wounded. That's a different topic.
Oh yeah, that's a good one though. That's a good one though, because our mentor gave a great example of that yesterday. He spoke about how a lot of men we were talking about, some violence that has happened, situations we heard about in the news between individuals. And he pointed out how a lot of it is relational. You know, you hear about things between couples, you know, young man, he shot his ex-girlfriend, her boyfriend mother, you know, things like that. And how a lot of times, you know, is from these relationships where, you know, there's been a breakdown. There's something going on there where, because there's this thing going on with the man and or the woman, that, you know, these violent things have happened, and it goes to the point where a person snaps because their emotions are way out of whack. So yes, that's another good conversation that we can have. But this one was a great conversation.
Yes.
I love the fact that we have a man here with us to talk about relational things. So so that's basically our conversation for today. And so we will be back next week again to talk about some more relationship conversation. And hopefully our brother Keith will be able to join us so we can get another brother in here with us, because we need to have this balanced conversation.
Yes.
You know, I had pointed out too that from the article that, men and women do think differently, and we were made differently. We weren't made to think alike. God made us both the way he needed for us to be for one another, is what I believe.
Absolutely.
And so, like you said, Jojo, about, just using our power, for good, then, it could change, the way we see one another and interact with one another. So that's it.
Before we go, the only other thing that I wanted to comment on was the reason that we're different from one another is because we're supposed to bring balance.
Yes, and complement.
And complement one another. So we can't have, both of us cannot be the same. I don't think it's going to work, that particular way. So that's why we're to balance one another.
Awesome. So yeah. So join us again next week. We will be on Facebook Live, same time, 6 p.m., same Love channel. And you can reach out to us on our website at lovehealingroom.com. If you need to reach us by email, is lovehealingroom@gmail.com. And you can call in and you can be anonymous as our silent butterfly at 248-289-5882. And so with that, we'll see you again here in our next Love Convo Afterglow next week, immediately following our show. With that, we'll say Namaste. My soul honors your soul. Good night.